Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Tanya Gupta, welcome you all in the live virtual revisionary classes of CA Inter Paper 5 Auditing and Ethics. As of now, I hope that you all have revised your syllabus and you all have done detailed study of your syllabus. As you all are aware that your syllabus is divided into 11 chapters, and these classes are purely revisionary classes for January 2024 attempt. As I also got a query from one of the students, that is it a detailed classes or revisionary classes? So for May 2025 attempt, we are already having detailed live virtual classes. You can check schedule there. But these classes are for January 2025 attempt, and these are purely revisionary classes. So please, student, take maximum benefit out of these classes. You can ask your queries in these classes as well, and it will be helpful for you if you revise your chapters in advance, so that you can again revise your chapters in these classes. And for now, I'm requesting CA Nancy ma'am to please take up the session, and she will guide you with the weightage and skill wise section of the syllabus. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya ma'am. So a very good afternoon to all my dear students. So these are the revisionary classes, as Tanya ma'am has already told you, meant for the students who are appearing in January 2025 for their exams, right? So how we'll proceed is, we have been allotted total 25 lectures, right, for these sessions. So I'll be taking chapter wise revision, whereby I'll be explaining you the important concepts, and I'll try to cover up the entire chapter. Wherever there will be certain paragraphs or any concept that is to be read at home, I'll be giving to you as homework, right? And I'll be expecting that you will be doing that homework and then coming for the next session. Then we'll be going through the questions, the case studies, the MCQs that are given in your study, as well as some extra questions for practice will be there, right? Whatever are your doubts, you can always send in the chat box. So try to send in your queries to me, whereby my name is written in small letters, right? So send in the query to that, and as and when we'll proceed, I'll unmute also wherever I'll find it is required, right? So be with me and let us start with chapter number 1. And before that, as Tanya ma'am has asked me, I'll just share with you the weightage. So students, this auditing and ethics subject, this is really very, very easy. But yes, you have to understand and then you need to learn, right? You are going to fetch marks for what you are going to write in your papers. So learning, but after understanding the concept is what is recommended, right? Further, I'll be sharing with you the weightage. So this is chapter number 1 with weightage of 4 to 6%. This weightage, section-wise weightage, is available on the BOS knowledge portal. Then chapter number 2 is 8 to 12%. Then chapter number 3, again 8 to 12%. Chapter number 4 along with chapter number 6, which is audit documentation, it is having weightage of 12 to 18%. Right? See, chapter number 6 is also included here. Chapter number 5, very, very, very important, 12 to 20%. This individual chapter has a weightage of 12 to 20%. Then chapter number 7, 6 is already covered with 4. It is 8 to 12%. Chapter number 8 is your 8 to 12%. Then chapter number 9 and 10, special features of audit of different types of entity and audit of banks, is 12 to 18%. Ethics in terms of audit engagement, chapter number 11, which is 8 to 10%. So in total, we have 11 chapters, and I've shared with you the weightage. See, each and every chapter is important. Chapter number 1, though it is having a weightage of 4 to 6%, but it is the foundation of the entire course of auditing and ethics subject for your paper number 5. So you need to understand the concepts, you need to learn the keywords, you need to learn the definitions, and wherever learning will be required, but yes, after understanding the concept, right? And I'll be sharing with you the questions of the last year papers also, and we'll be practicing them, right? So let me just share with you. Just a minute. I hope now you are able to see the screen. Chapter number 1, right? So we'll be discussing chapter number 1 today, which is nature, objective, and scope of audit. Dear students, keep on sending your queries because I really want this session to be really very interactive, because this is what a revision class. So basically the purpose is understanding part. I am assuming that it is clear, though I'll be repeating the concepts for you. But how to learn and how to write in the exam so that you pass with flying colors. So whatever doubts come to your mind, please do ask me, right? So the topic is nature, objective, and scope of audit. So what is meant by auditing and what is the nature of auditing, right? So audit is this definition is given on page number 1.5 of your module. I hope you all are with me. Please send in your thumbs up if everything is clear so far. And also, I would like to tell you that your paper, it consists of 30 marks MCQ and 70 marks descriptive type questions, right? And 30 marks MCQ will come in form of 15 MCQs for 2 marks each, right? 3 MCQs can be individual, like not based on any case scenarios, but though practical situations will be given. So independent 3 MCQs will be there for 6 marks. And the remaining will be in the form of either 3 case scenarios or 2 case scenarios consisting of 4, 5, or 3 questions accordingly, right? So I hope I'm clear that 30 marks are for MCQ, 2 marks each, right? So see how scoring is this paper. But yes, you need to go through the entire module line by, because you may get MCQ from any line which is given from a practical situation which is based on any line which is given in your module, right? But once you have understood, I'm sure that you will be able to apply that concept practically also, right? So with a very positive note, I can see that Nikita, Yash, Manish, Sunny, Sia, all are with me. Ritu, Dev, all are saying yes, ma'am, it's clear. So let us start with this first topic, which is meaning of auditing. So see, students, what is auditing? It is the independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, irrespective of its size and legal form, when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon, right? So here my purpose is not only to make you understand, but also to make you understand as to how to learn and write in the exam. So this definition of auditing is really very, very important. You will see that chances are there that in an entire paper, somewhere or the other, in any question, you will be required to write this definition. So what is my strategy? That whenever any definition is given or whenever any concept is there, which is lengthy, you just break that into parts, because it will help you in easily understanding the topic as well as in writing, in learning and then writing in the exam. So I've broken this into 4 parts. So audit is an independent examination of what? Of financial information. Whose financial information? Of any entity. What can be that entity? Whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size or legal form. Okay, then what is the purpose of doing all this? When such an examination is what? This independent examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. What is meant by thereon? On this financial information, right? So I have told you that why I'm breaking this definition into parts, because understanding, yes, it is important. But my dear students, you are going to fetch marks for what you are going to write in the paper. So if you have an idea in your mind that, okay, the audit definition was divided into four parts, right? So it is an what? Independent examination of what? Financial information. Whose financial information? of any entity. What is that entity, whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size and legal form. Why? When such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. See, why I have told you that therein implies this financial information? Because this understanding will help you in learning the definition after understanding. Right? So I can see Kiran is saying that, ma'am, my concepts are clear, but I don't know what to write when questions are little twisted. Yeah, that we will also discuss. But that's why I told you that you need to go through the module in entirety. You will get the twisted questions, as Kiran is saying, out of the matter which is written in the module itself. So if you are clear with each and every line which is given in the module, solving such practical questions is going to be a cakewalk for you. But yes, for that, you need to go through the module. Hana? If you say that I'll not go through the entire module, I'll just learn the keywords. Okay, learning of keywords is required. But once, twice go through the module, and then I'm sure you will be able to solve those twisted questions. And yes, we will also discuss and see as to how to write. See, again, Aishi is saying, ma'am, my biggest concern is how to write. So in order to, solve this concern, only these revisionary sessions are there, which are understanding plus how to write in the exam, so that you all pass with flying colors. And I'm sure you all are going to pass your exams with flying colors. Okay. So again with me. So it is an independent examination. Now, what is meant by independent? The word independent here is really very, very important. Of financial information. What all is included in financial information? Again, very important. Of any entity. You may get a separate 3-mark question that whereby you are required to explain this entity, or whereby you are required to explain this independent. Right? Then, when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. So, quickly, I need your replies. Tell me, is learning at least 10%, 20% of this definition? Are you able to just register all this in your mind? Quickly send in your replies. So I have got so many yes. So see, auditing and ethics is not a tough subject as you all consider it. It is a very scoring. I've told you that 30 marks is straight your MCQ. And here only the thing that is required is you need to go through the module in entirety. I guarantee you that you will be able to answer those MCQs, right? So such an easy exam, 70 marks descriptive questions with so many options, right? So I'm sure you will be able to understand. Nikita, Tripti, Yash, Garvit, Ashwani, all are saying that they are able to register this definition in their mind. Hana? So what you have to consider, just try to break that definition or break that concept into part. And here I would like to tell you that for all those who find these techniques comfortable and, helpful for them, they can use it. Otherwise, for all those who get confused with all these, can always follow their own method. Now, this is what audit definition. Now, you may get a 3-mark question as to what is meant by independent examination. So quickly tell me, what is meant by independent? Quickly, I need replies. Independent. See, Garvit is saying, ma'am, I'm finding problem due to tricky language. See, there is no tricky language that is used. Now, independent is a very simple word, right? But if you just replace this by some other word, so it's beneficial that you learn the keywords. So yes, Eco is saying without any influence. Swati is saying without bias. Ishan is saying opinion of one is not influenced by other without any influence. Omar is saying. So I'll not able to, say the name of all the students, but yes, very good. Many of you have answered it correctly. Mehek, Shoaib, Shilpa, Ayushi. all are correct. Om Krishnan, Om, all are correct. Ashna, absolutely correct. So what is meant by independent examination? So let's say the client is ABC Limited, right? For simplicity, I'm taking such names. And Messrs. XY and Associates are appointed. This is a CA firm. They are appointed as the statutory audit. So please understand that here we are talking about statutory audit, which is what? External audit. So this XY and Associate is what? Independent. It is external to ABC Limited, right? We are not talking about internal audit as such, right? So when will XYZ and Associates be considered as independent of ABC Limited? When XY, the partners of XY and Associates and the team, they are not subordinate to the wishes or directions of ABC Limited. They are not, they are not influenced by ABC Limited. So XYZ and XY and Associates, they will conduct the audit. They will perform the examination of the financial information, and they are going to give an unbiased opinion, objective opinion, which is not influenced by what ABC Limited wants them to write in the report, right? So it says that it means judgment of a person is not subordinate, is not influenced to the wishes or directions of another person. So judgment of a person here in our case is what? The auditor, which is XY and Associates, is not subordinate to the wishes or directions of another person. What is another person here? ABC Limited. Hana? Who might have engaged him? The auditor should be, might have. So otherwise we'll see that the engagement is done by the shareholders, right? So let's say that the opinion of XY and Associates is not shareholders also. The auditor should be independent of the entity whose financial statements are subject to audit, so that form an opinion without being affected by any such influence. Objectivity increases the auditor's ability to act objectively without creeping into any biases. What is meant by objectively? It is impartially, right? So as I've told you that you may get a 3-marker question as to what is independent examination, Hana? Or you may get any case study or any practical situation whereby you need to write about independent examination, right? So the judgment of the auditor is not subordinate to the wishes of the client. And the auditor is able to give his opinion in an independent manner without getting influenced by the client. I hope it is clear. So Satyam is saying independent refer to own judgment based on his own finding, correct. Abhijit is saying taking decision through own understanding, knowledge, yes. But see, independence is you are independent of the client organization, right? So let's take an example. Let's say that there is a company, again, ABC Limited, our example same will continue, and XY and Associates are the chartered accountant. Now, the brother of, let's say, CAX, right? The brother of CAX is involved in preparation of financial statements of ABC Limited. Now, XY and Associates have been approached to conduct the audit of the financial statement of ABC Limited. Quickly tell me whether X will be in a position, XY and Associates will be in a position to give their independent opinion on the financial statements of the company. So the answer is no. Why? Because there is what? The relationship by birth between the CAX and his brother who is involved in the preparation of financial statements of the company, right? So now are you able to understand independent, right? Again, if let's say CAX has invested his money in the shares of the company, so he will always want that his the financials of the company will show a good picture, right? So in that situation also, since his personal interest is vested in ABC Limited, there is no independence and he will not be able in a position to give an independent opinion on the examination of financial information of the company. Yes, Omar is saying, ma'am, self-interest will be there, and it will lead to what? Threat to independent. He will not remain independent of the client organization. I hope it is clear, right? Then of financial information. So what is meant by financial information? See, whatever information is there in the financial statements of the company, the financial statements, your balance sheet, your P&L, the notes to accounts of the company, changes in statement of changes in equity, cash flow. What is all that? These are what? Financial statements. The information that makes that financial statement is what? Financial information, right? So auditor is going to conduct an independent examination of what? Financial information. I hope it is clear. Of any entity, whether profit oriented or not. Now we are discussing this point. Of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size and legal form. So see, again, I told you that you can always get a 3-marker question here, right? So the entity whose financial statement is examined need not necessarily be profit oriented, like in case of a business. Is it necessary that only profit oriented companies are required to get their account audited? No. In case of a company, every company is required to get an account audited. And in fact, with respect to non-corporate entities also, see the word written here or in the definition is what? Entity. It is not written company. So it can be your association of person. It can be your LLP partnership firm. It can be a small or a medium or a large firm. It may be a profit-oriented company, or it may be NGO or a charitable trust. So whether mandatorily audit is required or voluntary audit will be required, that we'll see later on. But yes, if a partnership firm or let's say charitable trust, though mandatorily maybe it is not required to get the accounts audited, but if it voluntarily want to get its account audited, then it can happen, right? So the entities whose financial information is examined need not necessarily be profit oriented, like in case of business. It can be non-profit organization like NGO, charitable trust, and it can be, the organization can be small, medium, or large. Further, it can be conducted for any entity respective of its legal structure. I told you the word entity is written, not company. So it can be what? Your LLP, your partnership, proprietary concern, partnership concern, LLP, private company, public company, society, or a trust. Now, for all those who are telling me that, ma'am, some tricky language is there, see, the language is so simple. But yes, you need to pick up the keywords. See, when I ask you that if suppose you get a question on this, then what can be the keywords? I'll just highlight. Need not necessarily be what? Profit oriented, like business. Can be NGO, charitable trust. Can be small, medium, large. And it can be irrespective of the legal structure, like these examples. So these are not as such technical language, but yes, picking up the keywords is going to fetch a good marks for you, right? So I hope it is clear. So we have done the definition of of audit, whereby we have understood the meaning of all 4 parts that we have discussed. Opinion is discussed in detail in your audit report, chapter number 8. So there will be, we'll see as to what is the opinion that has been given. And in the next session, I'll discuss with you a practical audit report of a company so that you can just have a look as to what kind of opinion is given. I hope it is clear. So again, just in order to, wind up this topic, audit is what? Again, with me, 4 points are there. Independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size or legal form, when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. I hope this concept is clear. Quickly send in your replies so that I can proceed further. And I hope you are able to understand what we are discussing, what is the purpose of these sessions. Okay. Now, students, here, just try to understand. I am sure that you all are aware about this concept, but just to recapitulate, see, who is responsible for preparation and presentation of financial statements? Quickly send in your replies. Quickly, I need answers. So, Satyam, Ashna, Om, Krishna, Om, Ishan, all are correct. All are correct. Tripti, Kiran, everyone is correct. It is the management. So it is not the auditor, right? Now my next question. Who is responsible for design, implementation and maintenance of internal control? Internal control within the organization. Design, implementation, who is responsible for that? So again, answers are correct. It is the management, right? And auditor, he will study, he'll assess the accounting system and internal control if he intends to rely on internal control, and then he is going to give an opinion on the financial statement, right? Now see, when an auditor is conducting the audit of financial statements, then there is a topic in your module which says that how auditor will see that the financial statement would not mislead anybody by ensuring what all points, right? See here, anybody is what? Whoever are the users. Who are the users of audited financial statement? It can be the shareholders. Why? Because their money is invested in the company and the management is preparing the financial statement. So the shareholders must be interested in knowing as to their money, whether it is safe or not, whether it is in the productive projects or not. The employees, they are also can also be the intended users. Why? Maybe they want to know about their bonus, about their salaries. Let's say government authorities. Why? Because for the tax liabilities. The bankers or the lenders. Why? Because they have to take credit decisions. I hope this concept is clear now, that if let's say there is a banker and ABC Limited approaches the bank for the loan. Now, consider a situation where ABC Limited gives unaudited financial statement to the banker vis-a-vis a situation whereby the company ABC Limited, it provides the audited financial statement to the banker. In the second scenario, the financial statements are audited. So the confidence of the banker on such financial statement is going to be high, right? Because audit increases the credibility of the financial statement, right? So that is the purpose why the financial statements are required to get audited. So we were discussing as to who will be included in this anybody. So it is basically what? The users of financial statement, right? So this topic is given on page number 1.6 of your module. So first of all, auditor will ensure that the accounts are drawn with reference to the entries in the books of accounts. See, this is how the accounting is done. This is how the financial statements are prepared. So auditor is going to see that only, right? So account should be based on the entries in the books of accounts. Those entries, now the second point is also related to entries. Those entries should be supported by sufficient appropriate evidence. What is sufficient? Sufficiency is related to the quantity of evidence and appropriate is related to quality. This we will be discussing in the third chapter in detail. So abhi I am not taking up this topic, right? Again, the third point is relating to entries. None of the entries are omitted. Now tell me, why do you find learning all these difficult? And what is the tricky language here? See, these 3 points, this is one of the learning techniques. Just try to, make summaries. These 3 points are relating to entries, and which is so obvious that accounts should be based on what? They should be prepared with reference to entries in the books of accounts. Such entries should be supported by sufficient appropriate or evidence, and none of the entries should be omitted. Now you get a financial information. That information should be what? Clear and unambiguous. As simple as that, right? The financial statements, all the information prepares what? When put in the tabular form is what? Financial statement. So that should be properly classified, described and disclosed as per the accounting standards applicable to the company. And the statement of accounts, whatever the statement of account, the accounts are there, they should picture of the operational results. Operational results is what? Your P&L, and the asset and liability, that is your balance sheet. right? So I hope you are able to understand and learn also. So in order to ensure that the financial statement should not mislead anybody, auditor will ensure that accounts are drawn with reference to entries in books of accounts. The entries are supported by sufficient appropriate evidence. None of the entries is omitted. The information, just try to be logical na. Pehle 3 points are related to entries. Then you get certain information that should be what? Clear and unambiguous. And you all know that information when put in the form of statement gives what? Financial statement. So that should be properly classified, described and disclosed as per accounting standard. And last but not the least, whatever statement of accounts you are getting, that should give a true and fair picture of what? Your operational results and assets and liability. Now tell me why you find it difficult. I hope you are able to remember. Also quickly send in your replies. So this was about the topic given on page number 1.6. So quickly send in your reply. Are you able to learn also? So Yash, Ritu, Satyam, Ahna, Sia, Tarun, Dev. Yes, Anmol, operational results, that is your PNL. Results from operations, your sales, your purchases. So that is given in your PNL. Sunny, Swati, Kiran, everyone is saying yes, yes ma'am, it is clear. Chalo, that's good, right? Now the next, this was about meaning of the term audit. What is the nature? So the nature of auditing is that it provides assurance. What is meant by assurance? Confidence. Confidence to whom? To the users of the financial statement. And I've told you who all are the users of the financial statement. So it provides confidence. It increases the credibility of the financial statement. And what confidence? The users have the confidence that now financial statement can be relied upon. I gave you example of banker. So banker, when he's given unaudited financial statement vis-a-vis a situation where he is given audited financial statement. So see, auditors are an expert in their field. So when an opinion, when the expert put their signatures on the financial statement, obviously the banker's confidence is going to increase and they are going to rely more on the such financial statement. Clear? So this is about the nature. Now the next topic is interdisciplinary nature of auditing. What is meant by interdisciplinary? Quickly send in your replies. Don't look at the screen, what I'm writing, just send in your replies. So Omar is saying interrelation, Swati is saying diversified, Anmol is saying nature of audit relating to other subjects, interrelated, yes. So if you look at the dictionary meaning, it says that relating to more than one branch of knowledge, right? So students just try to understand this topic and learning is going to be very easy for you, right? So see the financial statements, the auditor is conducting the audit of what? The financial statement. He's examining the financial statements. How are financial statements prepared? By the accounting, right? By the management applies various accounting standard, right? And the financial statements are prepared. So unless and until the auditor is aware about the entire accounting process, how the financial statements are prepared and presented, he will not be able to check that, right? So let's say if I'm checking your papers, so unless and until I have an understanding of what the answer should be, right, I will not be in a position to check your papers. Same way, the auditor needs to understand that financial statement is what? This is the result of overall accounting process. So auditor is, see, it's mentioned, or auditor reviews the financial statement, which are nothing but a result of overall accounting process. So accounting knowledge will be required, right? So there are various subjects which the auditor must have an understanding. So that is why the topic is what? Interdisciplinary nature of auditing or relationship with diverse. Diverse is what? Different subjects. Clear, right? So law, See, various laws and regulations are applicable to a company. Maybe, let's say, Companies Act is applicable, your your Contract Act maybe, or let's say taxation laws. So the auditor needs to have an understanding. Then only he'll be able to know as to whether financial statement reflected true and fair view. Why? Because the financial statement will have an element of all that, right? Auditing and economics. So let's take example of, let's say, a company is there. Let's say you are conducting the audit of a bank. Now there are changes in the economic environment which is having impact on the banking regulations. So auditor needs to have an understanding of that, right? Behavioral science. What is meant by behavioral science? See, when auditor is conducting the examination, he needs to obtain a number of information from the client organization. And client maybe from the accountant, maybe from the sales department, maybe from the purchases department, right? So he need to understand the behavior of the human behavior. Then and only then he'll be able to, coordinate. He'll be able to, let's say the auditor is required to delegate the work also to the team. So unless and until he has an understanding of how to understand the human behavior, he will not be in a position to deliver effective and efficient results, right? Statistics and mathematics. We are going to study today that auditing is conducted on sample basis. Sampling is nothing but what? Statistics. Calculations are nothing but what? Mathematics. So unless an auditor is aware about statistics and mathematics, right, he will not be in a position to, conduct the audit in an effective manner. Data processing. See, in case of large companies, let's take example of TCS. So maximum of the data is maintained on your computer systems, right? So unless and until auditor is having an understanding of the computer system, the IT system, the electronic data processing, he'll not be able to conduct an effective audit because entire data is available on the system now. And if the auditor is not aware as to how they operate the relevant software, right? Obviously, he can take the training from the client itself, or he can ask for the management to provide with him assistance in case of any, specific softwares. But still, he needs to have an understanding of the computer system. That is what data processing, because a huge data is nowadays available. It is there on the computer system, right? Financial management. So the various financial techniques like working capital management, the funds flow, the ratio analysis, right? Your financial markets, understanding of that is also required by the auditor. Auditing and production. So the auditor needs to have an understanding about the production, the cost system, the marketing. See why, let's say the auditor is concerned about calculating the cost of inventories. So unless and until he have an understanding about the production process, so what is the, the process, the input, the output, he will not be in a position to conduct the effective audit, right? So that is why he need to have an understanding of the production also. Let me just take you through the module for this. Just a minute. So see, this topic is here. So you just have an understanding from here also. So knowledge of subject like economics helps auditor to be familiar with overall economic environment in which specific business is operating. Financial management deals of fund flow, working capital management, ratio analysis. See, students, you all are aware about all these things. You have studied this in your foundation on 11, 12. So you all are aware that there is a subject of accounting, there is a subject of economics, financial management, behavioral science is required, right? So a very easy topic. I hope it is clear. I hope so. So the next topic I'm going to cover is what? Objectives of audit, right? 200 essays, what? Standard on auditing. You all are aware, and as in when we'll proceed, you will see that we will be covering a wide range of standards on auditing. So essay 200, and the name is what? Overall objective of the independent auditor and the conduct of an audit in accordance with standards on auditing. I'll repeat. Overall objective of the independent auditor. And again, as I always tell you, just try to break it into parts. And the conduct of an audit in accordance with standards on auditing. Right? So as per SA 200, the objective of auditor are, so there are two objectives. First of all is what? The auditor, Abhi, I am just explaining it to you in a very simple language. First objective is to obtain a confidence. Unless and until he is himself sure, he himself has confidence on the financial statement, he cannot give the intended users the assurance, right? So the other word for confidence is what? Assurance, right? So first of all, he'll have a reasonable assurance that financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement. Why? Thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion as to whether financial statements are prepared in all material respect in accordance with applicable FRF. Okay. Once he has obtained a reasonable assurance, what he'll do? Will he keep that assurance with himself? No, he is going to report. So the other is what? To report on the financial statement and communicate as required by the SA in accordance with the audit findings. Hana? I'll explain this in detail. I hope in a very simple language, you are able to understand there are two objectives. Hana? What are those? First of all, he is obtaining what? A reasonable assurance. And second is what? He'll report, right? Now, why the term reasonable? And the term reasonable is really very, very important. You can always get MCQ case scenario from this reasonable assurance term. Hana? And you will see that in the later part of this chapter also, now, when we'll be covering the topic of review audit, this term is going to come again and again, right? So see, Abhi, we have just discussed, I told you when we were discussing about statistic, I gave you example of what? Sampling. That auditor may check the transactions on sample basis. Why? Let's just take an example. So, see, let's say ABC Limited is there and XY and associates are conducting the audit and there are lakhs of transactions. So is it practically possible for the auditor to check all the transactions? So the answer is a big no, right? So auditor may offer what? Sampling techniques, how to take sample, what is statistical sampling, non-statistical, that we are going to cover in the, I think chapter number 3 is there, right? So Abhi, I'm not going in detail. So see, let's say these are the various transactions. Let's say these are what? Sales transactions. These are lakhs. Okay? Now, auditor decides to check these transactions because he is checking it on what? Sample basis, right? Now, let's say there is misstatement. Misstatement is what? Mistake. And it can be on account of what? Error or fraud. Fraud is what? Intentional. Error is what? Unintentional. But both are what? Mistake. So these are not checked. Why? Because he has, after applying some sampling techniques, he has taken what? These samples which I have circled. So if some mistake is there out of this purple area and such transactions are not checked, so he cannot be what? 100% sure. Na? So he'll be what? Reasonably assured. What is meant reasonable? Reasonable is what? It is though high level of assurance, but it is not a complete assurance. It is not a guarantee. It is not 100% assurance. 100% assurance is what? Absolute assurance. Or I can say complete assurance. Or I can say guarantee. But audit is what? It is reasonable assurance. And there are various other factors also. Why only reasonable? I have discussed with you only one point, right? So reasonable assurance. I hope the term reasonable is clear. Anmol is saying, my reasonable assurance is high level of assurance, which is correct. Should be saying higher assurance, that not absolute, absolutely correct. And maybe saying not absolute, which is totally correct. Okay? So I hope you're able to understand as to why only reasonable. And I've told you assurance, the dictionary meaning is what? Confidence. So if I'm saying it again and again that the confidence of the users of financial statement increases. So let's say I am the auditor of ABC Limited. So I want to increase the confidence of the users of the financial statement. Unless and until I am confident about such financial statement after the examination, how can I assure the users? So to obtain a reasonable assurance, what reasonable assurance? That the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement. The term material here is also very, very important. You will be doing essay 320. Materiality, right? So there we'll be discussing in detail about material, but material is what important for the financial statement as a whole, and misstatement is what I told you, mistake, and it can be on account of fraud as well as error. Fraud is what your intentional, when let's say the management intentionally commits any fraud, or error is what unintentional, but both are what mistakes. Now, why the auditor wants such reasonable assurance? Thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion on whether the financial statements are prepared in all material respects in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Now, the next question which arises here is, ma'am, what is financial reporting framework? So, the framework that is applicable according to the nature of the entity. Let's say companies के case में Schedule 3 of the Companies Act is applicable. So, that becomes the applicable financial reporting framework, right? So, whether the financial reporting statement, I hope you all are aware about Schedule 3. You all must have done this in your accounting subject also. So in case of companies, Schedule 3 gives as to how the balance sheet will appear, how the PN will come, how the notes to accounts will come. So auditor needs to know as to whether in all material respects the same has been prepared, right? The financial statements have been prepared. So the first point is now divided into again two parts. What? First is what? Auditor will obtain a reasonable assurance. First of all, he will get what? A confidence that what? Financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement. Why? To enable the auditor to express an opinion. Right? And how that opinion will be given? That is point number B. That is to report on the financial statement and communicate as required by essay in accordance with the auditor's finding. We will be doing essays of 700 series. There you will be 700 series. So there you will see as to how to report in various situations. So I hope it is clear. Objectives and learning, I'm trying to make you understand as to how to learn also. Reasonable assurance, I've told you that it is not a complete assurance. It is what? Though it is high level assurance, and absolute assurance is what? Complete assurance or a guarantee that financial statements are free from material misstatement. Why auditor obtains only reasonable assurance? Because of various limitations of the process of audit, which is another topic, which is what? Inherent limitations of audit. Abhi we have discussed only one point, sampling wala, right? We'll be discussing the other points also. Okay? So, and if I ask you that how auditor gives a high level of assurance, that is reasonable assurance is what? High level of assurance. So how the auditor is able to give reasonable assurance, which is a high level of assurance? So see, audit is carried out by auditors after applying their professional competence and skill based on standards of auditing. Auditor obtains what? Audit evidence. He evaluates them, he forms the conclusions, and then an opinion is formed. All this process, professional competence, skill, the standards being applied, audit evidence being obtained and evaluated, conclusions being drawn, and opinion being formed, this leads to a high level of assurance, and high level of assurance is what? Reasonable, right? But it is not absolute or complete assurance. Clear? Misstatement, we have seen that it is what? It can be fraud, error, and auditor have to see the effect of misstatement in totality on the financial statement as a whole. I hope this is clear. So just quickly, let us go through this overview. So what are the objectives? Obtaining a reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement due to fraud or error. Gaining reasonable assurance leads to formation of opinion whether financial statements are prepared in all material respect in accordance with applicable FRF, then to report, and it should be in accordance with the essays and the audit finding. Communication of report and reporting and communication should be in accordance with essays. I hope these topics are clear. Quickly send in your replies, and also please write whether you are able to learn also. Students, I'm waiting for your replies, and then we'll proceed. So Ritu, Sunny, Manish, Kavita is saying yes, ma'am, perfect. Mehak, Swati, clear, ma'am. Malekar is saying yes, ma'am, understood. Aditi is saying. So that's good. So our next topic here is what? Scope of audit. What is meant by scope? Quickly send in your replies. I hope you all are finding the speed also, the speed with which we are discussing also fine. So Omar is saying coverage means, scope means coverage, which is absolutely correct. Or I can say range or reach of something. Yes, Ritu, it's range. Tripti saying area. Extent, Manish is saying. Swati is saying boundary. Okay. So you can say the reach or range of something. So let's say, let's frame a question around this. Let's say that XY and Associates, as I'll continue with the same example, they are appointed as the auditor of ABC Limited, and a new joinee is there in the engagement team. He asked the engagement partner to tell him about the scope of audit as to what all are covered when the audit has been, what all aspects of the entity are been covered when the audit has been conducted, right? So Liana is saying what it covers, which is absolutely correct, right? So just keep in mind what is the purpose of conducting the audit. So it is to enhance the confidence of the users, intended users. How? By expressing an opinion. The auditor is not going to, call each and every intended user and tell them that as to this is the situation or this is the whether the financial statement reflect a true and fair view. An opinion will be expressed, right? So what is the purpose? To enhance the confidence and by expression of opinion, right? Now, what is included in scope? So whatever aspects are there relating to the entity, which are relevant to the financial statements being audited. If any aspect of the entity is there, which is relevant to the financial statements being audited, that will be covered within the scope of audit, right? The reliability and sufficiency of financial information. So if you get let us just continue with that example, that the new joinee asked the engagement partner as to whether they are required to examine the reliability and sufficiency of financial information. So the answer is yes, right? Right? Why? Because see, students, who prepares the financial statement? It is the management. Management uses various judgment when management is preparing the financial statement. Quickly send in your replies. Any example of judgment that management makes when the financial statements are prepared? Quickly. So yes, Omar is saying valuation of inventory. Satam is saying provision. Absolutely correct. Let's say useful life of the asset for calculating depreciation, accounting policies, right? So since management uses various judgments, auditor will have to see that whether the information that has been used by management, whether that is what reliable and sufficient. And for that, auditor is going to check the accounting system, as well as he is going to check he may make an assessment of what internal control of the organization. So let me just take you through this. So auditor he needs to see whether the information, the underlying information is what? The information which is used to prepare the financial statement, that is reliable and sufficient. Why? Because auditor will have to make a judgment about this, that whether the accounting policies that the management has made, whether that are consistent and appropriate or not. How? He'll study the accounting system and he'll study what? The internal control of the organization, right? I've told you that internal control is what? It is implemented by the design, implemented and maintained by the management itself. And how auditor is going to check that? By performing the various tests, by performing the various audit procedures and inquiries. What are the various audit procedures that we'll be doing in the third chapter, right? So I hope it is clear. So reliability and sufficiency of information, that is covered in the scope. Now, is proper disclosure of financial information, is this also covered in the scope? That means whether the auditor needs to consider as to whether the information is properly disclosed or not. See, what is the assurance that the auditor provides? That whether financial statement is prepared as per applicable FRF. And if we take example of companies, so applicable FRF mein schedule 3 is there, and which is nothing but what? Your disclosure requirements only, your presentation, right? So yes, this is also covered in the scope. So whether the relevant information properly discloses as per the applicable statutory requirement. Applicable statutory requirement can be what? Like your schedule 3. How auditor will ensure, this is done by ensuring that financial statement are properly summarize the transactions and events, and whether the management judgment in preparation of financial statement, whether that are correct or not, right? Further, see presentation disclosure may accounting policies, whether the selection and selection of appropriate accounting policy, whether they are consistently applied, right? See, if there is a departure, then the reason of the same must be mentioned. So whether that has been there or not, that all is covered in the scope of audit. Clear? So let us just have this checkbox. So what is covered? Coverage of all aspects of entity relevant to the financial statement being audited. Reliability and sufficiency of financial information. Proper disclosure of financial information. Expression of an opinion on financial statement. So all this is covered. Let's say you may get a case study. Let us just discuss. So again, ABC Limited is there. XY and Associates are the firm of chartered accountants. So let's say during the year, some plant and machinery have been acquired, or let's say capital work in progress is there for the company, right? Under Schedule 3 to the Companies Act, there is a requirement of specific disclosure with respect to capital work in progress, right? The engagement partner CAX approaches the management of ABC Limited with respect to such disclosure requirement of capital work in progress required by Schedule 3. The management asks CAX not to consider such disclosure requirements as they do not fall within the scope of the audit. Now tell me, what should be your answer? Whether it falls within the scope or it is outside the scope of the audit. Disclosure requirements. So you may just write within or outside. So Gunjan, Garvit are saying within the scope, Ritu is saying within, Satyam, absolutely correct. Okay? And students, many of you were saying that, ma'am, we are unable to answer to practical question. See, this is how you will get practical question. Now, once you are clear with the concept of what is included in scope, that is disclosure is to be seen, reliability and sufficiency of information is to be seen. All the aspects of the entity relevant to the financial statements being audited that are to be seen. So once you are clear with the concept, why will you not be in a position to give the correct answer? A number of you, maximum of the students have given the correct answer. Hana? So this is the way you are going to get practical questions. But yes, reading the module in entirety once or twice is definitely required. Yes, Swati saying as per Schedule 3 falls within the scope of disclosure, which is absolutely correct. Okay. Now, what is not included? what is not included in the scope. Right? So first of all, let us discuss this, and then I'll discuss a case practical situation with you. So this to we are doing again and again. Who is responsible for preparation and presentation of financial statement? It is the management. See, let's say if XY and associates are involved in preparation of financial statement of ABC Limited in our example, will CAX be in a position to give an independent opinion? The answer is no. Why? Because he himself is involved in preparation, or his firm is involved in the preparation presentation of financial information. So it is not the auditor that is required to present the financial statement, it is the management. So preparation presentation of financial statement is absolutely not included in the scope of audit. Let's say you get a situation that, again, ABC Limited, the management of ABC Limited asks CAX to prepare the financial statements of the company, right? Can XY and associates, in which CAX is a partner, can that conduct the audit of such company? The answer is no. Why? Because see, if I ask you to check your own audit papers, how much marks are you going to give? So the answer is, ma'am, full marks. So same way, how will CAX be able to, point out the misstatements, point out the mistakes in the financials in which he is involved in preparation, right? Yes, Liana, absolutely correct, right? Then duties outside the scope of competence of auditor. Now tell me, let's take an example again, ABC Limited, right? And XY and associates are CA firm, right? Now ABC Limited is having a building. So is CAX responsible for considering as to what should be the useful life of such structure, of such building? Or let's say ABC Limited is having any sophisticated machinery, let's say cranes, let's say cranes. So is XY is the audit firm, whether they are required to check the physical condition of such cranes? So the answer is no. Why? Because CA is not, the auditor is not the expert in that field. That is the work of what? Maybe some engineers. So it is given in your module, maybe some qualified engineers, right? So all this thing whereby auditor, the task of, seeing the physical condition of, let's say, the machinery, I gave you example of cranes, or to see the useful life, the management is going to consider that. Though that useful life will be used in calculating the depreciation, that the auditor is concerned, because the depreciation amount is going to have an impact on the financial statement. But calculation of the useful life, that is the work of the management. Why? Because management, first of all, is primarily responsible for preparation of financial statement. So duties that fall outside the competence of auditor. So you may get a question that the CAX, who is the engagement partner in this case, the management have asked CAX to consider the suitability and life of the various civil structures like building that are appearing in the balance sheet. So this is absolutely outside the scope of the competence of the auditor. Authentication of documents. See, whether a document is genuine or not, how can auditor consider that? Because he is not an expert in that field. So if let's say some fake document is there, the auditor needs to be alert all the time. But he is not an expert in considering the genuineness of a document. So this is again outside the scope of the audit. Investigation.